Okay, I pressed the go live button, so happy Easter, everybody. Happy Easter, Tracy.
Happy Easter to you.
All right, well, we are now live. Let's see if people join us. Maybe we'll give just a minute for that to happen.
I think we're supposed to be saying hello there, all you cats and kittens.
Cats and kittens?
Yeah.
This must be something from Cincinnati.
No, it's something from the Tiger King.
Oh. I made sure to see what it was about. I got one episode and I haven't had time for more.
Yeah,
But
it's an
I know it's a
interesting.
thing. Well, let's do a really quick, again, letting people join if they do. And if you're joining, you can pop in here, video and all, if you wish. There's a link in the description. I know I put it there. And it lets you pop in if you want the video and audio. So you can ask questions coming up. Questions for Tracy McGlosky, joining us from Cincinnati. I'm on the other side. I'm in California. Both coming at you from home during the quarantine. So what are we doing here? Let me give a quick, what are we doing here? And then we're going to talk to Tracy quite a bit, and I want to hear mostly from her today because she's going to give us a whole bunch of advice on how to kind of get through this time the best we can. In fact, by way of intro, I can say the reason that I know I started doing these live streams and I/we, the Photomatics page, like why are you watching this on the Photomatics page, is we got talking about how to, what we could do to be part of the solution, the good side of this quarantine situation, make bad things less bad and try to find some good. So we got talking in the small Photomatics company about what we could do. And I said, also for my own sanity, is I would love to get out and be more engaged during this time. We're all doing things from home. Even the late shows and things here in the U.S. are all broadcast from home. I saw a clip on YouTube that Saturday Night Live did everything from home. So we're all doing that, and I wanted to kind of, for my own sanity, be part of that. And I thought, well, other people could get the same sanity effects or impacts by maybe joining in and participating. That's why I'm inviting everybody to come on and ask questions in a few minutes. And then the other thing is, so our small company, what can we offer, was just some photo tips, things to do at home. Our thing is HDR, and today we're not really going to talk about HDR, I don't think, probably not even directly photography much in general, but we do have resources for that, and there's a link in the comments. If it's not there now, it'll be there soon, where you can learn about HDR. There's tips and tricks, and there's even a license for anybody that wants it for Photomatics Essentials, that it's a real, just like you bought it, application license. So go to that if you, is it not in the comments yet? There will be a link on the hdrsoft.com homepage coming up. But in the meantime, you can go here. Okay, so that announcement is done. I just want to see if there's anything I wanted to mention. So again, because we come at this from trying to make better of a good situation, I got talking to Tracy the other day, who, besides, photography-wise, when I look at what you do, Tracy, it's kind of the things that I find that it's not in my normal wheelhouse, like a lot of great portraiture and amazing lighting, not to mention working with little tiny humans. And now I've, most of us have done enough of that to know how hard it is. So kudos, Tracy. I'm going to let you talk most of the time after I get.
You're fine. I'm very patient. I work with newborns.
Okay. After my diatribe, I'll let you. You're going to be on most of the time. But Tracy is a Pro Photo Legend of Light. You call it, right? Legend of Light. Mm-hmm. And I'm more familiar with the Olympus Visionaries because I've known some of those and seen you got speakers, and I'm an Olympus user myself, not only, but so I appreciate that. So besides those things, we got talking about how to really manage our mindsets, and you and I kind of connected on that a little bit. I'm much more hippie than I look, although it's changing. Like I'm growing it out over the quarantine. And we got talking about this. I felt like, wow, we really need to get on and try to share this and just get the conversation going. If we can help a few people, great. And let me just pass it on to you and let you introduce yourself more. Tell
Sure.
people about maybe your Facebook page and what else you have to offer.
So again, I'm Tracy McGlasky, and I have been actually an Olympus user throughout my entire career as a photographer. And it started off with just a point and shoot. I wasn't even serious about photography. Yes. And over the course of time, and really, I was that mom with a camera that everybody talks about. That was me. And I had my babies, and I started taking pictures of them, and it grew into this passion that eventually ended up taking over my career. And as a backup, just kind of going back on that story a little bit, prior to that, I was a salesperson for a Fortune 500 company. And can you hear me? Because I stopped being able to hear you, but that's okay.
I muted myself so I could drink.
You didn't need to hear me. You don't want me to hear you gulping. So I was a sales rep for a Fortune 500 company, and I was one of the top reps that they had. And I loved sales a lot. So when the time came for me to start selling my work in photography, it was something that was kind of second nature to me. So having a studio and doing the work that we do here in Cincinnati, which is mostly maternity and newborn, and we do some weddings. Kind of started out doing more weddings than anything else. And as you know, if you're kind of new or even kind of into photography, it takes a minute to develop what your passion will be in it. Like, where will you really land in it? So it took me a little while, but over time, I really began to develop a passion for doing maternity and newborn photography, and so I went that way with it.
Did you have like people asking you to do it, like the demand drove where you went, or did you decide that was really what you were best at or what you enjoyed the most?
Well, so it started off again with me taking pictures of my kids, and then friends were like, "Can you take pictures of my kids?" And then people started asking, "Can we pay you to take pictures?" And I was like, "Whoa, wait, what's going on?" Because I didn't even know I was any good at all. And I think the first time I really kind of thought maybe there's something to this was when I got a call from a photo lab saying they needed a print release. And I didn't even know what that was. So I was like, well, let me figure this out. So I finally got that print release and got it sent over to them. But that's how it all started. I think that photographers struggle sometimes to be business people and photographers because it's two separate parts of the brain, kind of.
Definitely.
But I was lucky to have developed that business side first and then go into the photography side. So it worked out for me. But enough about that, because even though I'm super passionate about the business side as well, one of the things that I found the most useful here in this situation is really taking control of what's going on between my ears. And to give you guys a little backup, and this is not a sob story, but we have a big studio in downtown Cincinnati. It has a fair amount of overhead, and we have a large client base. So when things shut down for a month or two, that's a huge impact to our business. And our business isn't evergreen, so it's not like people can just reschedule having their babies or can stay pregnant for me, even though I wish they could. And babies don't stay small forever. And if you're a newborn photographer, you have like 7 to 10 days. And then after that, the baby stops being so womb-like, and it's harder to photograph the way that you want to. So fast forward to this. Initially, my response was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I think that's everyone's initial response, and that's okay, because that's just where you are, and it's how you deal with it. Your brain does things, trying to figure it out all the time.
You have that situation that so many of us don't try to keep a studio, either never did or don't anymore, and it's so legitimizing to have an actual brick and mortar studio. Not to mention just so nice to work in a studio, right? And
It
so
is.
that's I just that's one of the things that I find interesting is that everybody wants to support the businesses that can't really open. Say the restaurants doing to go around here, as many restaurants as can are doing to go, and everybody wants to support them. So if those who are not really financially impacted are doing that a lot, but nobody thinks about some of the more unusual or something or less some of the other kinds of businesses like yours. And so, yeah, maybe we can hear a little about how you want to handle that. But I just wanted to point out that there are a lot of those that are not thought of. They're not considered when areas are telling us to lock down and not do that. That there might be compromises. Maybe not, but maybe I'm not sure. With babies, you're not going to go shooting outside, I
No.
suppose, at this time of year in Ohio. But anyway, I think there might be some compromises that could be made in many businesses, and I really love it. If not here, we're not going to solve that here, but people would consider that. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's really important too to remember as professionals, and if you've been following me at all for any length of time, you know that I harp on it all the time. Is it, people will say, what do I do about this? This client wants this. And I always say the same thing. What's in your contract? So in a time like this, and I hate being the person, and so I won't right now, but I hate being the person that says, well, you should have done this. And then you would be in a different situation, because that's not helpful. So moving forward.
The contracts always have that, what is it, force majeure? What is the act of God, what kind of cancels it out if there's something big? Is that what's happening?
So somewhat. But a lot of people really don't want to go to that length. And the truth is that the contracts are coming in so handy right now, because it's like, what do we do if we have to move things forward? And this is another part about building relationships with your clients. Gosh, we're going to have like so many things to talk about, but building relationships with your clients means that when something like this happens, they want what's best for you as much as you want what's best for them. So if you've done a consultation, and we sit down with all of our clients for probably around an hour or longer, just setting up their shoots or their contract for the year, which is usually what we end up selling is, maternity, newborn, 6 month, 9 month, and 1 year session. So they're with us for a year. The cool thing about that is, like in a situation like this, where we can't do a shoot, we can always still make it up later in the year. So 90% of my clients, 95% of my clients are just sticking with the plan. And they're like, I'm still going to want pictures. Yeah, it's not going to be exactly what we wanted, but we're going to do the best that we can with it. So I haven't lost a lot of contracts in that regard yet. Now, if we're 6 months deep, it could change. But right now, I'm where I am. Weddings for us have pushed forward to different dates. So that's a pretty easy button.
Yeah, that one seems a lot easier. Maybe figuring in the no, never mind. I was gonna make the same you can't remain pregnant joke with the wedding.
You can't remain pregnant, right? Well, we wish they would, but that would be horrible anyways. So I don't wish it on anybody. But but the thing is that as we're moving forward through this, everyone's initial reaction is kind of the same. It's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? And I see it. People are reaching out to me, and I'm seeing it all over online, even for people who aren't photographers, who are like, what do I do? And my first response to everyone is the same. It's like, don't do anything right now. Just hold on a second. Because I know if I was making forced decisions on my business right now, I would be making decisions out of fear and anxiety. And so I have to stop for a second. And so I just think the most important thing we can all do for our businesses right now is guard our minds against letting ourselves go crazy and make crazy decisions because we're scared. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think that you're not going to advertise right now because people are being butchered online for advertising. So you're not going to do that. You really can't even advertise for the future. I mean, you can, but I don't think people are receptive to that right now.
I
And
like
there's a
seeing,
reason, right? I sent over a picture to you. If you want to show it, you can, but there's a reason why we're all kind of stuck in this space where it feels like we're stuck and we can't go anywhere, and where we feel trapped or like isolated. And it's because, it's a very, this is like old. This is like from, I think, the 60s, but it still stands true because we're all kind of stuck in those bottom two levels of the safety and needs and psychological needs. And
the basics, air,
yeah,
air,
the
water,
very
sleep.
base, yeah, of what we need to survive. And so, a lot of us aren't in that dream state. A lot of us aren't going, what can I do to make my life wonderful? Or how can I make my business better? Or, any of the things that you can be in that dream area. Well, right now, most of us are in, how am I going to pay my bills? Do I have employment? Am I healthy? We're not even going into the area of, how do I grow and achieve more? And it's normal. And that's why I wanted to show this, because I think it's important to just let yourself be where you are. And right now, where we most are is in that orange and red. Now, from my perspective, and maybe Ron, you can chime in here too, but from my perspective, you can probably raise your vibe a little bit by just finding things to be grateful for and looking around and saying, but I do have this, and my kids are healthy, and I have food for today, and I'm good right now. I don't have to go anywhere. My bills are suspended, or whatever your case is. And you might be able to get up into that next level of that yellow area. But thinking that you're going to be in blue right now is probably giving a lot of pressure to yourself. And most of us are not there right now. And we're not going to get there right now, and that's okay. So I wanted to show this so that if you're feeling kind of low energy, low motivation, it's okay. That's normal, and you
That's
should be
where
there.
that's
Yeah.
the normal human reaction.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know. I see now. I don't get my reality from social media, but you still see a lot of people. I would say making the best of it when in a quarantine, where they're finding fun things to do, like silly, creative things, and so a lot of the feeling to me becomes that everyone's just kind of relaxed. And now, of course, if you have depends on your family situation and who's driving who crazy, and or the other way around, you're by yourself and you're so there's everybody has one thing I wanted to do is acknowledge, and for anybody that just hasn't done this yet, is acknowledge that everybody has their own situation, and they hardly can be compared. I when
100%.
I yeah I, when I'm when I hear about some of the the difficult family things, where it was already difficult for just one example I was thinking of, someone was telling me that it was already difficult with siblings having trouble, and they had all manner of psychologists or whatever, psychologists helping them out. That was already the case, and now they're pretty much locked down without even the ability to go to a regular old park just to separate people from other people. Brothers, I think it was, in this situation. So anyway, I just want to acknowledge that, and where other people are having the time of their life
Yeah,
because
no, 100%.
they want to be together, and same thing with business is, can you do the business or not? Can you do some of your business? Are you benefiting from any of these, like you mentioned, suspending bills? Which companies are willing to do those kinds of things? Who can benefit from all the money flowing from above, and who's should be but not? So I wanted to take a second, and that's one of the advice items that I kind of want to throw out there, is just to really let people be themselves in their situation, and try not to judge or whatever we want to call it. And as I tend to think as individual as possible, and so okay, so for the photographers out there now.
Yeah. Now back to you guys.
Yeah, exactly. That was a very general thing to say, but so what about the photographers? Uh, I should throw it back to you because you were on a good roll there, and I
No, it's
derailed you.
totally, no, you didn't at all. You
And
didn't at all.
do I sound better this way, Brian? Brian Essler's in the comment
Hi,
section.
Brian.
Good man. He said I was really quiet. Yeah, yeah. Juanjo says the same thing. I'll see if I can change it.
Am I quiet as well, or is it just you?
They said I'm much quieter than you are. How do I sound to you?
Are you saying I have a big mouth, Brian?
Does this make any difference? What I just did? Or all the same? A little bit. Still a little soft. You know, it might just be my quietness. I'm a very quiet guy.
There you go. Just yell at me.
Just in volume. I'm quiet in volume, not in amount of words.
Just yell at me.
Yeah.
No, I think like in right now, like in photography in general, when you go on any photography Facebook group, people are freaking out, and it's okay. Again, like you said, everybody is where they are, and I wouldn't be telling the truth if I didn't say there's some concern there, but I can not live there, and this is the whole point of what I think is the most important thing that we can talk about is. You can't live in a place of constantly recycling the fears about what's going to happen in the future and be happy. And so my work has been for myself is finding things that I'm grateful for every day and making sure that I don't live in that recycled area of constantly feedbacking, the feedback loop to myself about how everything's so bad and what am I going to do and how am I going to survive this? So some of the things I think that can contribute to that is this delayed feeling of like, I'll call it a little waiting. So if you do little waiting, you might be a person who, and we'll say that little waiting is something like waiting for a light to change or waiting for the barista to give you your cup of coffee. And we all do some of that, right? Like anytime we're at the grocery store waiting in line or even at an amusement park waiting in line, we do little waiting and it's fine. But what I feel is kind of happening right now in society is like this large waiting game. And the large waiting is when we're all waiting for this to be over so that we can do this, that, or the other thing. And that's very difficult to be patient when you're waiting for your coffee or a light or in line. So imagine how impatient we all feel when we're doing large scale waiting for the world to change. And so part of that for me, go ahead.
Do you know what that does? Is there that I feel like there's something we should know about the effect it has on our brain to be waiting for something that you can't control because you're eager to make decisions based on that, but you can't have that. And there must be something out there that kind of help us with that.
Well, I think it also takes you away from like, you don't want what's right now. You want something in some future that's going to be better. And this is the biggest, lesson for all of us in staying here right now with what is and embracing the discomfort of it because it is uncomfortable and allowing ourselves to make space to just feel that and be okay with it. And then figuring out what can I do right now with what I do have. And it doesn't mean work. And this is another thing that I think is an interesting revelation that I've been having about myself is how much of my value I place in the work that I do, in the business that I make, in the money that I'm, spinning through, the contracts that I sign, the images that I make even. And all of those things are really important to my identity. But when it's all gone and right now is just quiet time, who am I then? And so to answer your question about the waiting, I think that it produces a feeling of dissatisfaction And all you have to do is go on Facebook for 5 minutes and you'll see how dissatisfied everybody is. Everybody's dissatisfied. Nobody can do it right. There's not one politician that's going to win because on either side, somebody's going to be ticked. And as a nation, we're even seeing that division. And so the waiting, it creates dissatisfaction, which eventually just leads to us all being unhappy.
Like, I think you mentioned something about kind of politicians and media is that they're in a no-win situation. And I hope that kind of lets people realize that that is a no-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
And expecting answers to come from above usually makes things worse.
And it's the same thing with us. It's like I was on a call. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I was on a call doing a thing like this. And someone said, well, all these small businesses should have done this, this, and this. And again, I told you at the beginning, I hate saying those kinds of things because it's not helpful. It's like, well, what does that do for me now? Yeah. But the reality is that a lot of us go back and judge ourselves. And every single photographer, when this happened, was like, oh my God, why didn't I do this, that, and the other thing to protect my business? The reality is when you made the decisions that you made at the time that you made them, you made the best decisions that you could make with the knowledge and experience that you had. Right. And it's not fair to go back and judge you for what you didn't do with knowledge you didn't have. Because now you're fresh, you have new knowledge, you have new experience, you know about coronavirus, you know about the shutdown. Of course you do something different. So it's not really fair, and it's very self-deprecating to go back and say, I should have been a better whatever, saver, investor, whatever.
Right.
So, yeah.
I don't want to take it down a political road, so I'm going to let that one go for the moment. or a media road, which is kind of the same thing. I guess that's all I'll say is that it's kind of all wrapped together.
It is, yeah.
So, yeah, actually, you brought up something interesting that I realized my reaction for myself anyway, and what I thought a lot of people would appreciate, maybe they do, is to take if you are somebody that has the chance, the time now is to learn something new about. In our case, maybe photography, and but at the same time, maybe another great option. Again, everybody's different. Is to just drop that all for a little while and really appreciate the other things, whatever it is for you, family, other hobbies, something like that.
So I have 3 pieces of advice, if you'll let me. So the first one is stop going on social media. I mean, unless you're going there to share something that, is uplifting and fun, if you're getting show me your favorite gifts or memes that you've gotten, or, I did that the other day and it was hilarious. I had so much fun watching the memes. But so for the first thing is stop filling up your brain with coronavirus. We all have it now. It's stop, enough,
where can
enough.
Where can you avoid it? But you can go out in nature. But you can't avoid it by any other kind of media. So I'm kind of thinking of staying away from media.
Yeah, you're right. All media, social media, the news isn't going to help you right now, because here's what's happening. You hear something negative and your brain automatically, because it's so smart and wants to survive this, goes into fight or flight. And so immediately your brain is like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so it sends you back into that mode of wanting a better world and waiting for something to be different. So that's the first thing is clear that clutter out of your brain and stop waiting for this better world and live in the world you're in right now. That's the first thing. The second thing is get something done. And, a lot of times when we sit and we do nothing but look at media, our brains, again, are in fight or flight all day. And it's very exhausting.
Yeah.
And it's very demotivating. So sometimes just putting that down and just getting your hands busy and your feet keeps your brain from doing stupid stuff that it shouldn't be doing. So a lot of people say, well, how do I do that and make sure I actually get it done? So one of the best things in the world is a calendar. And I know it sounds crazy, but even painting that table that you've been wanting to paint, or cleaning that closet out that you wanted to clean out, or making that picture you wanted to make, you're more likely by like 90% to get it done if you actually give it a time slot on your calendar. So
That's a good one.
anything that you want to do that you're saying, because a lot of us in the beginning of quarantine said, I'm going to learn a new language. I'm going to write a book. I'm going to learn how to play piano. I'm going to paint my whole house. I'm going to garden. I'm doing all these things, right? Well, fast forward to 4 weeks later, and you've probably done very few of them, right?
Right.
And it's just because that's normal, A, and B, don't judge yourself about it. But if you want to really get it done, just schedule the time. So the best example is if you tell yourself you have a certain amount of time to do something, you're likely to get it done in that amount of time if you pressure yourself a little bit. So I'm just saying, if you want to get something done, put it on your calendar, and it keeps your brain in that space of movement instead of trying to figure out what the answer to the problem is. And the truth is, we don't know the answer because experts all over the world and on Facebook still haven't figured it out. We don't know the answer yet. And so it's just wait right now. So that's number 2.
One of the, I like to call it psychology 101 items that everybody does or should know. And one of the best ones is things just to help your mental state, just to avoid depression and things I remember the example of housework, just accomplishing just the simplest thing, but better yet, yes, some projects that you have that accomplishment done. Then when you sit down and chill with the other quarantine thing of alcohol, whatever, then you feel really good about it. And I wanted to go back really quickly about social media. Something that's worked pretty well for me is I'm very light on social media, especially Facebook. I just can't take it, the regular conversations. But it's really powerful and probably everybody who sees us knows this already, so I don't know if I should bother saying it, but the photography groups and professional groups and other kinds of groups that are important to you can be really good resources. I still go to groups that are in my specialty to help and be helped to this day. And so what I would say is try to keep your social media in those lanes and out of the main things. That's my 2 cents.
I think Nat asked a question that I would love to answer because this is right in my vein of what I love to do to photographers when I teach classes. So I will challenge all of you who are listening to do this as well. The question is, what if we become overwhelmed by intended projects and learnings and have trouble prioritizing? This is such a great question. So I'll tell you guys, at the beginning of every year, I write down 100 things that I want to do most. No, I think it's 50. Sorry, 50 things that I want to do most this year. So you can imagine 50 things is too many things, right? And I love doing this in photography classes because I have everyone write down their top. I usually only do 25 in a class. So I'll encourage you to write down 25 things. And it can be, money is no limitation. So it could be a trip. It could be a class. It could be buy new gear. It could be write a book. It could be go to Italy. It can be anything you want. And then after you're done writing them all down and you've intentionally sat and thought about all the things you really want to do, then you have to circle only 3. And the rest of them you have to scratch out. Scratch them out. And that kind of hurts sometimes. There's a pain point there in letting go of those things. But the point in doing that is that it allows you to focus on the things that matter most to you. And so when we're in this time of quarantine, which, we don't know if it's going to go on for another month or 2 or 6 or 7, but the cool thing about these goals is that once you scratch off one, you can add another one back in. But you're not allowed to focus on more than 3, because a lot of times what happens is we're focused on 100 things. Well, you can't focus on 100 things. So,
and by scratching out a lot of them, so presumably a lot of things you really wanted to do got scratched out.
Yes.
So when you're doing the ones that you've decided to do, you know that you've given up something to do that.
Yes.
So there's something that makes it more important in our minds.
It's so powerful to do that, and it sets you free to let go. You are actually not allowed to touch those other things at all until you accomplish the first 3. When you get those done, then you can start adding other things back in. But it's easy to be overwhelmed right now by any small thing. It could just be waking up. And that's okay too. Yeah, sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh, crap, we're still in quarantine. You know what I mean? And some days you have bad days, and that's okay. But if every day is a bad day, then that's problematic, right? Because that the future starts to look pretty grim at that point. So that's a good exercise if you're looking for a way to help yourself to prioritize. But then you have to take, what is it going to take to do that one step, that one thing, that goal that was most important to me, and break it down into steps, and that goes on your calendar. And you just make a deal with yourself, like, I'm going to do this at this time because I made a commitment to myself.
Yep.
And you just do it.
Yeah, I like that. That creates more of a commitment for yourself. By I know for me, it's always there's something more important about something when it's keeping me from doing something else. So you have to have that. They have to have that kind of push somehow, depending. Ty Parrish, he says our conversations haven't been that bad, but you're talking about he's talking about the Capture One group, aren't you? Where you're talking about photography and Capture One, and everybody's talking about the same thing. You don't have to, blame this person or.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's
sorry, go ahead.
no. I love what you said, now about that, like, when you're creative and all of this like pressure is on you and you feel uninspired, sometimes we want to run to the thing that we're used to doing, which is like photography. And I'm going to say something that everyone's going to get mad about, but I have not touched my camera, with the exception of one day that I took pictures of flowers. Now, partially it's because I'm a person photographer. And so subjects are limited to me right now. But it's also because it kind of ignites this thing in me where I start thinking about my business again. And so I've just decided that until I feel good about that, I'm not going to forget how to take pictures,
Right.
So right now I'm not focused on that. So I've been crafting. I mean, like, when I say crafting, I'm talking about spray painting in the backyard and doing weird stuff, but I'm still like doing creative things, but just not in my normal genre. And it's kind of breaking me out of this funk.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, for me, I was in a little bit of momentum working on new types of photography that I hadn't done much of before, and that's kind of come to a screeching halt because that had to do with people as well. So I don't know, there's good and bad, and the only times I've really picked up my camera is to take, like especially early on when I thought this was going to be quick. We took some photo walk, like me and my kids took photo walks, and that's ends up being me taking pictures of them taking pictures, of course, right? But just staying into it in the world a little bit, and getting away from screens.
Yeah.
That's
Hey, Michelle, I'm so glad to see you on here. Yeah, I think a
Hey.
lot of photographers right now are like, not really with my camera right now. And that's okay. And there'll be a day soon where you'll be like, man, I miss my camera. And you'll pick it up and you'll be totally rejuvenated in it. And it's okay. Just you are where you are.
I got to
Can't
take
be
note
anywhere
of
else.
that because I've been kind of encouraging myself and other people, and we did some other streams that were just talking about what you could do from home, and that could be non-photographers too. We were talking with about some food photography, for instance, and that could
Yeah.
be for people who just want to. They're not really photographers, but want to elevate a little bit those things. And then a big challenge for a lot of us is homeschool, which maybe that's one of the good things too, is we can all get a really fresh look at education during that too.
Hi,
Whether it
Devin.
means going online or whether it means doing it at home. Hey,
It's-
Heavy D from Minnesota. Pop on, Devin. You got any advice for us today? Pop on, Michelle. We'd like to hear your accent on here.
I love Michelle's accent.
Pop on, Ty. I don't think I've seen you in video. Pop on, Brian. Dude,
So,
Juan Jose, come on. Yeah, sorry.
no, it's okay. I love it. I wish people would pop on.
Yeah, I thought
You
we'd
all
have,
like being on camera as much as me, don't you? I see what's happening here.
you can go audio only if you really want to.
No, it's okay.
No,
I
I
don't
mean,
mind.
I mean, they can, not you.
Oh, I was going to say, we need faces right now. We all need to see each other.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's it goes along with what we're saying is that just joining things like this, and there's no pressure. It's not like we're not on NBC here. It's no pressure that it's going to
Right.
be all over. So
There was one, can I share one more thing?
sure,
This is this, I say one more thing, kind of like one more picture, because if we keep talking, I'll probably share another thing. But one thing that I just want to point out is that a lot of times the message that we're giving to our brain is based on some story we made up, right? So we tell ourselves a story that, oh my God, my business is in trouble, but really right now today, maybe it's not. Or if you could just focus on what's right in front of you and not all the things that you're thinking are coming, this imagined future, you would be in a better space. So if I could give any advice today to like leave everyone with, it's that you can make the story in your mind whatever it needs to be to get you through this time. It doesn't have to be anything heavy. It doesn't have to be anything scary. It doesn't have to be anything that is from a place of lack. You can decide that everything is going to be fine and you're going to come out of this shining like a star, because guess what? I'm a bad and I can do this stuff because I've been doing it for 12 years. What's going to happen tomorrow? I'm just going to let it fold. I'm good. I've got this. I trust myself. So you can flip the script away from being scared and out of fear and lack, and you can change that story, because the words that you use inside your mind are what are constructing sentences that make you feel things. So when you're feeling afraid, there's no present danger. Nobody's walking in here coughing on your face, right? So you're good. It's just taking it apart and changing the story.
where does that from? I'm with you, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
When from that practical point of view, where is that when, again, not knowing what's going to happen? I think many are very actively out there getting these small business loans, getting these grants, getting these, just like a whirlwind of decisions and doing this, and with their best guess of how long it's going to go on, their best guess about what's going to happen after. How do you balance that? Like I'm because I'm taking more. I've been in the middle there a little bit. I've been investigating and just a little bit looking for some assistance and all that, considering whether I should do that. But again, I'm not really sure about how long it's going to go and what I'm getting myself into if I agree to these things. Because there's some advice, by the way. Be careful what you take because
Yes.
it's going to come with
It's not free.
strings. Yeah, and the attitude now about we want to get everyone this assistance, we want to do this, we want to do that. All you got to do is ask. We'll take your word for it. That's going to change. They're going to come back and change that. It already has happened, so I'm not making it up. So that's just my quick advice on that. But where is that where you, like, in my opinion, this is not going to end really quite soon. It's not weeks away, I don't think. But that's my opinion. So when do you decide to go into action and save the business by getting some of that, say, low interest loans or other things? Any advice on making that decision on kind of, okay, I think I've learned all I can learn. I have my opinion, my guess together. I'm going to go do this. How can we figure out that timing?
So the first thing is, I think that a lot of people right now can't, because they are stuck in a feeling of fear. And so I'll say this over and over again. If you're feeling afraid and it makes your heart race really fast and you're like starting to sweat, and you have to sit with it for a little while and let it really sink in. Because the reality is that when we make decisions based out of a place of fear, that there's no way we can be making a good choice, no matter what the choice is. So for full disclosure, like, I think that you have to read all the fine print, just like we expect our clients to do if we're contracted for something. You have to read all the fine print. You have to make the best decision, and you have to be patient with yourself and know this, that your future self is going to have more information than you yourself right now have. So you may make the wrong choice, and you can't in your future self look back and blame the now you for not having the knowledge that future you has. So it's
Right.
patience and grace right now. That's where we are.
Making, I mean, to avoid regrets, I guess, is kind of what you're getting at later. Is there's no reason for that because you can only make your best choice based on what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to me anyway, a regret is really something much more than that. Like where you really it was much more clear, and we didn't do the right thing. That's more what that can come from. But
Yes.
darn it, lost my side thought. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think that I think everyone's trying to make the right choice. Everybody's trying to do their best job, and listen, like, don't be an island. This is one thing about photography that kind of drives me crazy sometimes, and this may be genre specific, more toward people photography. And you guys can chime in and tell me if you think this. I think that a lot of people become photographers by the same way I did. Like, I'm a mom with a camera, or you use your cell phone, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I really like this. And most people come into photography feeling like they're behind the curve. And so they come in, they're like, I don't know anything. And then sometimes photographers who've been in it for a really long time are like, yeah, you don't know anything. Like,
Yeah.
there's no such thing as a natural light photographer, or whatever the verbiage is, that again then throws back in the faces of those just starting out that they're not worth it, that they're not good enough, that they don't know enough. So we all kind of go, oh shoot, I'm not good enough. And then we hide and we pull back from the community. And I just want to say, as a professional myself, that I don't care if you use natural light. I don't care if you reflect light with a mirror like I did my first time that I used a reflector. I don't care if you use tinfoil. I don't care what you do. The community of photography is about sharing the art and love of photography together, no matter where you are in your journey. So sometimes that island mentality makes people in situations like this really feel like they don't have anybody. So just reach out in the community and
Yeah.
and be honest and let people help you.
Yeah. Share what you know and let people share what they know. I know a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are not really willing to do that. But
Mm-hmm.
those of us, I haven't been really attending physical conferences in the last couple of years, but for a long time, I learned a ton because me included, I was there doing that really martial artsy teaching and learning thing is always the best, always the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm helping with what I know best, and I'm learning what other people know best, and I learned a ton of things I didn't know anything about. Following just following the style of some of the people that just always just teaching and giving what they know. You know, the Scott
Mm-hmm.
Bournes and the Levi Sims of the world, and Michelle. I won't mispronounce your last name. Grenier. I mean, everybody's out there just sharing everything. So, in fact, that's one of the things I even put a note that I wanted to mention is that we're an example of one of the things I want to get out of this quarantine time. Okay, what are some of the things I want to get out of, come out better somehow? Things are going to come out worse. Things are going to come out better. And one of them is exactly this. We probably would have met virtually or in real life at some point, but we hadn't. But we were introduced by Jamie McDonald, and turns out we have a ton in common, and we have a ton, photographically speaking, opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And so we might, who knows if we would cross paths. And we're bringing these kind of communities. I would love to see that for me and for other people, just bridging a lot of that, so that I like what you said about when you start getting out there, even if you're not new, people will tell you you're doing stuff wrong.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's debatable, right? It,
Yeah.
and on the other hand, breaking rules is kind of what's happening these days with photography. So don't worry about those people that are getting you down about what you're doing. If they don't want to help you, don't worry about them. They're not worth it.
Yeah. No way,
And
man.
yeah, and at the same time, try to ask good questions, because like, if there's anybody that's really new watching that, ask the questions, because whoever answers it usually learns from doing that too. So
100%.
bring those I mean, with really talking to photographers mostly, but let's try to take that opportunity to do things like this, like a little bridging meetups and conversations and stuff like
Hmm.
that. So, yeah.
I love that.
Well, nobody's gonna pop in, huh? Okay, fine.
Scaredy
Do
cat.
you see any other good, any other questions, comments to mention? Got
I just,
Norway. Whoa, Norway,
yeah.
my homeland. Apparently, I've never been, but yeah.
Nat said, ignore the book and go out there and play with your camera. And that's exactly my
Well,
sentiment too.
oh man, I'm so much. Getting a new camera is the only time that I recommend actually reading the thing, because I explain really quickly. The best way to make that, you want that camera to eventually just be part of you, and you're automatically switching switches, turning dials, changing things without even hardly thinking about it. That's where you want to get to. But the first
Yes.
step to that is knowing what all the darn things do and where they
Hmm.
are, and
Yep.
removing all the mysteries of what the heck is that all about. So it's funny because I'm not a manual reader. Like with software and with most things, I pretty much would figure it out and only check if I couldn't figure it out. But when I used to do more direct teaching, I really recommended that this is one of those times to go ahead and read the manual. So, but then on the other hand, he's absolutely right about that ain't enough. That's only like your, that's like your 101 class is reading the manual, and then after that, it's all just shooting. And so,
Yeah, I mean, I think like making the worst pictures ever, like maybe do reverse goals during quarantine since the world seems upside down, and do make the worst possible picture you could ever make, or,
ooh,
undo your lighting and, do it backwards and see what that feels like. Or, one of the exercises I love to do in classes that I teach too is to like come up with the worst possible advertising campaign for a product. And mine was a heated ice cream cone with a hole in the bottom. So you start to like trick your brain into thinking outside of what you normally think like.
so
But it's
you didn't do anything with the idea. You just
no, 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 no,
okay, okay.
no. It's just to get your brain thinking in a different direction. And I think like a lot of times, Tony, you would love the manual. Um, I do not love reading the manual. I am the bad person who's like, wait, where do I find that? And then
Oh,
I'm Googling it like, oh God,
I'm not saying it's not weird to love the manual.
it's
I'm
weird.
not, I'm not
See,
saying
Tony,
I
it's
would
weird.
enjoy reading the manual, but I remember doing it with when I had downtime at like in the old days and working in an actual job when not photography, and I had some downtime and I'd read. And that's how I got through them. But yeah.
It's crazy though, because like a lot of the mistakes that I've made, like a perfect image, a great image, I learn less from than the really crappy pictures that I'm like, oh, why did that happen?
The why, right?
Yes, because it makes me curious. So when I take a beautiful picture, I'm like, that's awesome. But I'm not sure I'm as curious as I am around the pictures that just make me crazy in Photoshop, or if I'm trying to figure out the color cast or the skin is all weird or whatever, then I'm like, I'm never doing that again.
Oh yeah, I agree. I've learned a lot by trying to make a photo that it didn't work initially, but you had to find a way to kind of make it work.
Hmm.
I've learned a lot from that.
I've done a lot of
That's a
those
good one.
pictures,
That's a good
you
one.
know.
Well, should we wrap up? We're going on an hour. I mean, it blew by for me, but
It did me
uh,
too, yeah.
we, believe it or not, even during quarantine, real life is requiring my presence in some places. So I don't know. But just to wrap up for me, I'd say my best, my best advice is just focus on what's important. If that's if it's a dangerous state of a business, that's a big deal. But
Hmm.
maybe for some it's not, and you get a chance to really see again things that you haven't, see things a new way, whether it's some family things you do with them that you don't normally do. Just focus on what's important. It's kind of the thing that I like to remember and I like to put out there. What about
Yeah.
you?
I mean, my best piece of advice is just, be where you are and don't try to get anywhere else right now. If you wake up and you're sad, be sad and sit with it and then when you can talk yourself up out of that, then do something else. I just think you can't, resisting sadness or feeling overwhelmed is just going to make you more sad and overwhelmed. So it's just sit with it and be okay with it and reach out to somebody like us.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Get out there, but carefully if it's in social media. Like, try to do. Let's see. How about this one? Maybe there's something we can coin a phrase of something about using social media right, somehow using it to help emotionally positive. Maybe there's something out there that we can find that
Yeah.
Because it is one of the biggest ways to be engaged now, but it also has its dangers, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
the regular television media is really dangerous right now. Just my opinion. Hope don't email me. But social media too, it can be either way. It can be really helpful or not. So I guess that's where I'm going is don't get wrapped up in the difficult things. Just
Set a timer. I mean, like, you don't need to be on there all day. Believe me, there's nothing new. It's nothing new.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, Michelle, for nice comments.
Hey, I can't wait I'm so happy you're doing that, Nat. That's going to be so fun for you.
Where's he?
Yeah.
Do I know? I don't think I know Nat. What's he doing?
The 25-year goals list.
Wow.
Don't forget to scratch off 22, though. That's important.
So we need to sign off and say join Tracy's Facebook group.
Yes, definitely.
I did put a link early in the comments, right?
I think so.
I think I put that. Yeah, it's up there early in the comments.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much looking at Facebook. I know we're on I know we're on YouTube, but I never really. I don't know. I don't really look at it. I don't know how that works so much, but it's definitely early in the comments. And go to also that link I put up there. It's hdrsoft/learn/something, and there's something hopefully will help you if you've been wondering about HDR stuff. If you're putting down your camera, then don't go there. If you're picking up your camera to learn something new, go there. But in either case, go to Tracy's Facebook group, because that's the kind of group that's going to help you, right? That's what I said, doing social media, right?
Yeah.
Opinions,
For sure.
opinions. All right, well, cool. That was really, I like that a lot. I hope everybody got something out of that.
That was fun.
And keep in touch with, if you want to hear more about it, you know where to go.
Yeah.
And share your own thoughts too. But all right, let's sign off here and see everybody next time.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.